Good afternoon, and welcome to the City Club of Cleveland. My name is Jan Roller, and I am president of the club. Today, we are indeed honored to have as our speaker at this special City Club forum the current chair of the Council of Economic Advisors, Dr. Christina Romer. The Council of Economic Advisors is an agency within the Executive Office of the President. It is charged with offering the President objective economic advice on the formulation of both domestic and international economic policy. The Council bases its recommendations and analyses on economic research and empirical evidence using the best data available to support the President in setting our nation's economic policy. Dr. Romer's work before she entered the administration made her uniquely qualified for the job. She had made an extensive study on fiscal and monetary policy from the Great Depression to the present, determining the causes of the Depression and the role fiscal policy played in the recovery. After her nomination, and before the Obama administration took office, she was tasked with co-authoring the administration's plan to recover from the 2008 recession. And the timing of this forum is important, as it comes on the heels of President Obama's urging of Wall Street executives to work with him to help pass a financial regulatory reform bill now pending before the Senate. Dr. Romer has local roots here in Ohio. She graduated from Glen Oak High School in Canton and went on to receive her undergraduate degree at William & Mary and her PhD from MIT. Before joining the administration, she was the Garth B. Wilson Professor of Economics at the University of California at Berkeley. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Christina Romer.
Well, thank you. It is indeed wonderful to be here today. I am honored to be here with Senator Sherrod Brown, and Representative Kucinich was here a little while ago. As Jan just mentioned, Ohio is very special to me. I spent 6 of the most formative years of my life here. I went to junior high and high school in Canton, but the trouble was my father was transferred the month after I graduated, and so I really have not been back, and I won't tell you for how many years, but it's a lot. So this is very much a trip down memory lane for me, and I think you ought to see I'm going to have my chief of staff and my assistant, and the 3 girls are getting in a car and driving to Canton tonight, and I'm speaking at my high school tomorrow. But you know, Ohio is not only relevant to my past, it is a central concern of my present. You know, states like Ohio, Michigan, and my current home state of California have really been ground zero for the fallout from the financial crisis. The Great Recession has taken just a devastating toll in these and similar states. I don't have to tell you, but the numbers say that Ohio alone has lost more than 400,000 jobs since this recession started, and its unemployment rate has now reached 11%. I wanted to come here to talk about the administration's policies and goals and to hear from you more about what's happening in the local economy. I thought what I'd do in my remarks this afternoon, I want to discuss the actions that have been taken to end the recession and my sense of how the economy is doing. I want to discuss both the very real progress that's been made and what more we need to do to speed up the recovery. I also want to talk about the importance of financial regulatory reform for states like Ohio. You know, Congress is in the middle of writing new rules of the road for the financial system. What I want to do today is discuss sort of the key elements of those reforms and to explain why it matters so much for every single one of us. All right, well, let me start about treating the recession. You know, President Obama came into office during what was truly the worst recession since the Great Depression. And I actually remember vividly the end of my first week in the transition. It was Friday, December 5th, 2008, and I was pulled out of a meeting to brief the president-elect by telephone about the November jobs numbers. And it was clear that morning that what might have been an ordinary recession just a few months earlier was taking on ominous proportions, because we had just learned that we'd lost more than 500,000 jobs that November. And I found myself sort of stammering, "Mr. President-elect, I'm so sorry, the numbers are just horrible." And he replied, "It's not your fault. Yet. Well, over January and February of last year, other countries began to report just staggering declines in output and employment. And any hope that we might have had that growth in the rest of the world would help to cushion the downturn here in the United States was completely dashed. We were clearly facing a worldwide contraction unlike any we had seen for a generation. In the United States, we lost almost 3 million jobs just between November and March of 2008, or 2009. Well, the key source of the recession was clearly the popping of the housing bubble and the ensuing financial crisis. In just a matter of months, trillions of dollars of household wealth were destroyed, setting off a rapid decline in household spending. The collapse of Lehman Brothers and the runs on money market mutual funds and other financial institutions caused credit spreads to skyrocket and key sources of credit to virtually disappear. Swift action by the Federal Reserve and the Treasury in the fall of 2008 had helped to avert an all-out panic, but throughout the following winter, stock prices continued to fall and credit standards steadily tightened. The entire financial system was in a state of anxiety and really paralysis. Well, President Obama understood that this was an all-out crisis that required an all-out policy response. Working with Congress, the administration took several major actions within its first few months. Most obviously, we passed the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act. You know, the Recovery Act really is the boldest countercyclical fiscal stimulus in American history. It included $787 billion of tax cuts and government investment spending, with it being distributed roughly one-third tax cuts, one-third government investments, and one-third aid to the people most directly affected by the recession and to very troubled state and local governments. Already, American families have received some $200 billion in tax cuts and support payments through programs like unemployment insurance. Thousands of investment projects are already underway, including everything from roads and bridges to a smarter electrical grid and clean energy manufacturing. Now, that's not all the administration did. We worked with the Federal Reserve and the FDIC to try to help repair the financial system. Perhaps the most important action, and one that we don't talk about all that much, is the stress test that gave us a comprehensive evaluation of the health of the 19 largest financial institutions. You know, this careful scrubbing of the books, together with the government's pledge to fill any identified capital need when the firm couldn't raise private capital, I think really helped to restore confidence in the financial system. It also led to a spurt of private capital raising that put our financial institutions on a much surer footing. And credit spreads have come down dramatically, and stock prices have even recovered greatly. The administration has also worked to stabilize the housing market and to stem the tide of foreclosures. The Treasury coordinated with the Federal Reserve to help reduce mortgage interest rates, resulting in lower payments for the millions of Americans that refinance their homes. We also set up a program to help responsible homeowners that were facing foreclosure to get more manageable mortgage payments. And already more than 1 million homeowners have gotten trial loan modifications, and we're working very hard to improve the program so that more troubled homeowners qualify and that more of those trial modifications turn into permanent ones. Well, this all-out policy response has made a huge difference. Last Friday, we learned that real GDP, a measure of the total quantity of goods and services that we produce in the country, grew solidly for the third quarter in a row. Now, growth at an annual rate of 3.2% in the first quarter of this year is just a dramatic turnaround from a decline of 6.4% in the first quarter of last year. Likewise, in March, we started adding jobs again. Employment rose by 160,000. And given the other data, we are hopeful that Friday's April employment report will give us another positive reading.